Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we are. Today is going to be very different. Today is going to be a story that just touches my heart. It's the reason why I do what I do, to be completely transparent. It's it it's the truth of who I am as a realtor, a business professional, and where I move in my business and how I stay in my business and how I stay in connection with the people in my business. And this is going to be potentially, I think, inspiring, heavy, emotional, exciting, disheartening. I think it's going to have a ton of emotions. So just full disclaimer, while you come through this journey with us, just understand in the end, life is just messy, right? Life is just messy. Leticia, thank you for being on the podcast with me.
Thank you for having me, Lori. I'm really excited about this.
Okay, I'm going to first introduce you. All right. This is my version of Leticia, and then I will let you share yours. Okay, first and foremost, Leticia was given to us. Leticia and Carl were given to us, to be specific, in 2011. In 2011, we were connected to you from a local lender that you had gotten approved with to purchase your guys' first home. Mm-hmm. And at that time, you were like, hi, we would love to buy our first home. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have this. We don't have that, but we want to buy our first home. And I was like, awesome. Let's do this. This is 2011. Fast forward, here we are today in 2024, right? Is that the year we're in? 2024. You guys bought your first home with me, a beautiful home that you're still in.
Still in.
You're still there.
Still there and still loving my home.
And you purchased that property with you as the primary, right?
No, together. We were co-owners with my husband. Well, my husband and I.
Bought it together.
Owners. We bought it together.
But you were the primary breadwinner, right?
At that time, yes.
Yes.
There's definitely that. He was on a long-term disability.
Yes.
I think as of 2009 or 10 was when he was approved. He had survived pulmonary embolisms.
Yes.
Which he was a walking miracle for many, many years.
Yes.
And due to the second time he ended up being on long-term disability. So I became the primary breadwinner, and I had gone from 2 part-time jobs to a full-time job. And whereas before I didn't think I'd qualify for a garden shed.
Yeah. And you bought a beautiful home.
Beautiful.
You guys, you bought a beautiful. Yes. No. That was your hard work. I just helped you find the right home, right? And I'm not going to tell you where it was, but I'm just going to tell you in 2011, her purchase price was $195,000, and that house is worth a whole heck of a lot more than that today. So I'm going to celebrate that you bought your first house. You've been in there for 15 years now. My goodness.
Going on 13
years.
In
yes.
August, 13 years when we closed.
And I've gotten to maintain this relationship. So now my question to you is here, right? This is my big question to you is, can you share a little bit about your loved one, which is Carl, who's no longer with us?
Yes. Okay. Well, so Carl and I met in a church youth group years ago, big brother type, ironically. And we ended up, I guess, getting together in 1988. Okay. I didn't even think it was going to be long term, to be honest. And 10 years later, I guess we were waiting for a special occasion to get married. Yes. So we got married in 1998. Uh-huh. And always, have been renters. I started off with roommates and so forth and so on. And then eventually, just for practical reasons, I ended up moving with him. We were renting a place in Glendora.
Yes.
And we were pretty lucky with it. But those owners made us nervous and rent would go up and we weren't sure what was going to happen. And we were like, we need to look for something else. And in the process, what about considering buying a home? I
love that.
And, so we, we're looking around, we met you. I remember he showed his car. She goes, "Doesn't she look nice?" And I go, "Yeah, she does." And he was very,
I love that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He goes, "Like, doesn't she seem nice?" And so we started, talking to you. We've we're blessed with a beautiful life together. We have no children because I believe that somewhere in the universe they wanted me to be a preschool teacher. I don't think the mix
you have
of
lots
children,
of children.
I would have. Yeah, I have too many children. I don't think I would have done both. So I've been a preschool teacher, mostly part-time. So I always had to juggle 2 jobs. Again, as I mentioned, I had to go full-time.
Yes.
And gosh, so we were married 15 years, I guess, about the time that we started, buying a home. And I'm very practical with money. I don't make a lot of money, but I'm good with managing it and thinking about the future. And gosh,
I'd like to share in that too. The inspiration was, right, you had your down payment. We negotiated in some closing costs to help you make this purchase happen. And you did this, right? You guys did this together. You guys, I remember when we were on our home searches and you guys would look for a home together. You guys were great talkers. You were great. Like, I'm out with another couple right now, and I love watching the interaction when you're like, is this the house? Is this the house? You were buying in 2011. That was the bottom of the market where it was actually going to turn around and go back up.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got a great home at a great price, and you lived together in that home, married. What year did he pass?
So he passed away in 2020.
2020 during
COVID. And it wasn't due to COVID, but it really, the dynamic of his passing at the time was really tough.
Yeah.
The last time he was in my home, our home together, was actually March 27th.
Yes.
I think I got COVID. I had to stay away from him.
Yes.
And we thought he got it too because he had a fever. It turned out it was a blood infection. So in 2016, he had been diagnosed with leukemia. In that year, he also had a bone marrow transplant, which potentially could have saved his life. And that fix had its downfall because it was an unrelated donor. And there's something called GVHD out there that the regular medical world barely knows about. And where an organ can reject the body, is he gets brand new DNA that will fight the cancer, but it will also attack his body. Initially, it had attacked the gut, and that home, back and forth from the hospital, having to make arrangements was just such a blessing. I had extra rooms. It was just the 2 of us, but having the extra rooms for different reasons was a plus because in 2017, there was a setback. He was in a wheelchair. He was immobilized, and we had an extra room to put him in. When I got COVID, we had that extra room to keep us apart. So in 2017, I couldn't even go near him. And of course, no hospital visits. So, having that time together was really hard to not have. But it was in April 2020 that he finally passed. And so it was what gave him the extra life, is essentially what took him, because the GVHD attacked his liver. Mm-hmm. And, so that was, so he was there through 2020. So that would have been, he was 9 years in the home. He was 9 years in our home together.
So I'm curious, Leticia, because here's the reality. You lose your husband, right? I couldn't even, I don't know. I'm blessed to have 27 years now, right? And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful and thankful. And every time I get to chat with you, I go back and I go, why am I even grumpy at him? Like, that is ridiculous. What's your problem, Lori, right? Because you've shared so many times, like, if I could just have one more argument with him, if I could just have one more moment. I remember the day I came over and you shared with me, you said, I would walk in the door and he would be so excited to see me. And I would be like, oh, can I just get settled? And he'd want to be like, hey, how was your day? And you're like, now, if I could get that again, right? Like, we take that for granted, and there is no reason why we take that for granted, except that we're living life, and then life comes to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And now life is different. Why did you choose to stay in the house?
Well, first and foremost, when we were buying the home, you were telling us all about the facts about how, usually first time buyers, that it's, about 7 years into it, that they'll change houses. And if I'm happy somewhere, I kind of settle in, and I'm loyal, I guess, even to houses. And
and to her realtor.
To the realtor, exactly. So, well, and you are a great person and a savvy businesswoman. I will definitely say that.
Thank you.
So it was, we said, I want to buy this to be our forever home. The other piece of it, being a renter for so long, is, in a weird way, rent control. And who knew how outrageous that would be, about how the pandemic has changed the element of rent. All my aunts and uncles, my grandfather helped them buy homes. My parents were the only ones that didn't, because they didn't understand the process. They didn't understand what taxes meant. And back then, rent was considerably cheaper than owning a home, considerably cheaper. Now it's the opposite. And so I remember, I don't want to have to deal with rent or having to pay an exorbitant amount of money. And so after there was the practical reason of rent control, I've got to say, truthfully, and just a disclaimer, everyone's like, oh, you can have roommates. No. I did that in my youth. And honestly, the only person that I could share a roof with happily was Carl.
And the kitties.
And the kitties and my pets. Yes, my pets, absolutely. Pets are welcome. Yeah, those are for sure. But human was only Carl. Right. People that come in my home, there better be a set date to leave.
Yeah. Well, I would like to add that you've done some, what was it? The students.
Hosting. Yes, hosting. We've done foreign exchange hosting.
Yes.
We started with the long term. We dived in on the deep end from the start, which was a little bit crazy. And after, it was like raising a kid, you know. That was a little bit tough. And then we decided to do short term. So we had the days ranged from a 5-day stay, 7-day stay. And I think the longest short term was 2 girls from Thailand that stayed with us like over a month. Yeah. And they were fantastic. Also too, as a teacher, we don't get paid for a while.
Right.
And every year finding a part-time job in the summer was just so hard. And the older I got, the harder it was. Carl, being on disability, had limited resources, in there. So that was like a great way to give him purpose. And he was great at it. So it was wonderful. And in fact, one of those hosting things, I have an adopted son that stayed with us for 7 days, and now is just a continuous part of my life. As a matter of fact, he just stayed with us. He just was over this weekend. He has a girlfriend in Claremont, so I know that's his motivation.
But that's okay. We take love any way we can get it.
Yeah, and he comes over. But as I was saying, there is a set date for him to leave.
Yeah.
He'll stay, whether it's a weekend or a week or 2 weeks, but I know he's going back home. He has his own place. And so that's me. And so because of that, the practical reason that I've gotten the payment low enough, and mind you, because I don't know anywhere that I could pay anything less, and there's no renting situation. That's not a roommate situation. And even then, I don't know that I would be paying less. So from a practical reason, this is how I'm surviving on my own. This is how I get to be independent.
Would you say, and so that's a great question, right? Like, to me, was it like, okay, Carl's gone. Did people like make suggestions like, oh, by the way, are you like, what are you going to do next? Are you going to move? Are you going to sell? Are you going to, did people make suggestions?
Some people did bring up the fact, like, are you going to stay there?
Yeah.
Is that hard? Honestly, for me, it was quite the opposite. For me, so the year that I mentioned, so Carl lost all mobility in 2017. And as a matter of fact, I had to take a year off to take care of him.
Yes.
And it was the best gift that I could have ever gotten. especially in retrospect. I mean, I get
Yeah.
2 months off with him, but this was like a total of 10 months with him.
Yes.
We found out, and I found out we make great senior citizens. I know. And I don't understand people that say they get bored in retirement.
Yeah.
Because I am 100% homebody.
Yeah.
So I'm a homebody, and being at home is my happy place.
Yes.
Being with my pets is my happy place. And that, I don't want to run away from his presence.
Right.
You know, some people are like, oh, it just makes me so sad. And I'm like, to have
Right.
him disappear is sadder.
Right. That's what I was going to ask next. Is like, is there specific memories in the house that you're like, I don't want to see that, or I don't want to feel that, or I don't want to experience that? Or does it just bring you closer to him?
Absolutely the latter. Yeah, there is no part where I wouldn't say I don't want to see that. It definitely, I feel, you know, I may be a little bit of Coco, you know, nobody truly dies as long as they're remembered, you know, and I keep him very much alive in my heart in every which way. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I have, you know, I'm not a big artsy person, and we always had milestone pictures of places that we went, you know, and some people are like, pictures of yourself in the house, but it's an event that you went to.
Yes.
It's the moment that you're reliving.
Yeah.
And so for our wedding, our 10-year anniversary, our 20-year anniversary, things like that. And so I have pictures of him everywhere. Yeah. I have met, sadly, several people that have lost their spouses. My uncle lost my aunt in 2020, and he does not take any of her pictures down. He looks at her. He talks to her through those pictures. Having a visual is really helpful. And there are some things now, you know, that my big joy is to move things around and to change the house, change the look of the house. Yes. But there are some things that, and I know people struggle with actually getting rid of stuff, is even more like closets. That's a big challenge, if you believe it. That's one of the biggest challenges that people go through. But there's little things like he had this place. There was a little niche, and I, for looks wise, wanted to keep things out of the way. But my clutter style is right in front of me. So anyway, he chose this as his drop-off location and where he keeps all his caps. Yeah. And it would annoy me at the time because it's like right in front of me. I think I moved the caps once because I had company over, but that little nook is still there. It's still there. It has his caps. His cane, because he was on a cane towards the end after he lost his mobility. He began to walk. It's at that front door. There's things that are him still as a part of it. And actually to move it and to change it sometimes is harder. Yeah. It's actually harder to say, no, I can't, because then he disappears. Well, I would say that. I mean, I know my father-in-law, my son's grandfather, he passed away, Grandpa's passed away 2 years ago, right? And my sister-in-law hasn't tackled his bedroom yet, right? And I know that. I know that can be hard. And so that leads me to my next question is, how do you deal with grief? We've had the grief conversation, and it's been a beautiful conversation that you and I chatted on, because grief can be held in so many different ways. I should have had posted, there was a quote. Well, first of all, my favorite quote, ironically enough, is from a Marvel TV show, WandaVision. There you go. And you know the premise that she lost vision. And anyway, at the very end of the show, he's narrating, and it says, "What is grief if not persevering love?" Oh, I love that. So that one's a big one. Also, and this other quote that I carry, I thought grief is something that you got past or got over. You don't. It's a journey. You assimilate. You morph and stuff. And I think the grief and the grief journey is different than bereavement or mourning. You know, the mourning is more the process of it. It's more the verb. Grief is something you carry with you, and I really embrace it. Because it is equal to love. It's not only the price that you pay for love, but it's how it carries on. And it said, "What is grief if not persevering love?" Tears are unexpressed love, verbal and expressions of love. So I I would never wish it upon anybody. It's,
Right.
you don't get it until you get it. I was always very pragmatic about our mortality. It happens, people die, we're not immortal, but it's a journey.
You have support in that journey too, right? You have a grief group that you're part of. Do you recommend people like immediately get started that, take their time? What are
You
your
know what?
thoughts?
I think it's a personal journey.
I love that.
So all of us the ones, so it was offered by City of Hope because of the cancer situation. All of us were tied that we lost our loved ones due to cancer or related to cancer, and it's spouses. So those are specific. Like to lose a child is specific. To lose a parent is specific. A sibling, a best friend. So ours, we all have lost our spouse due to cancer, and it was a course, actually, ironically enough, a 12-week course.
Oh, interesting.
And I am very much, I don't know, I guess a self-help kind of person. I listen to podcasts. I look for books. I do things to help me go in there. So when I saw this, I was like, actually, it was one of the social workers at City of Hope that recommended it to me. But after the 12-week course, what do you do with it? What do you do? And for some people, the end of that, there was 8 of us, and somewhere along the line, we asked a question. We started a text thread, and then we kept meeting on our own. One of the gentlemen has a Zoom account, and he does different things. And out of the 8 of us, we all vary in age. The youngest one, she had a 3-year-old son. When her husband passed away, and 2 retired adult children. So out of the 8 of us, there's 4 of us left that consistently meet. It's not a professional thing, although the person that facilitates also is working with David Kessler on another group. So it is. And so all of us lost our spouses about 2020. So we came into it about the same time. I was pretty close. Some of them were later. Sometimes you can't go there until you've had some time to sit with it. And one lady met with another lady that, she's 4 years into it. And the lady's like, are you telling me that I'm going to be miserable for whatever? And it was like a weird reaction. You know what I mean? And again, it's an ongoing thing. So I really, I do recommend having that. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot of resources out there. There are not a lot of groups that are that specific. Most people offer you to go to a church. But the problem with that is that it's a mingled group, and not all the time, there's that positive twist on it. So there's that move away from your feeling kind of a thing. I had somebody that, sadly enough, I teared up when I was preparing for his funeral, and I kind of got a remark is, for goodness sake, Leticia, for God's sake, Leticia, he's in a better place. What? So having somebody to relate to like that, because you do not get it until you get it.
Yeah. We were just talking about that off the mic, right? About the emotions and allowing yourself to experience your emotions and whatever is unique to you. Right. That's a beautiful thing. And a lot of people struggle with that. Some people think that you shouldn't experience emotions. Other people think, I think it's a personal experience now. And I'm learning myself. I shared with you, I'm learning myself because I've been like, push through those emotions. You can do this, Lori. Right. And it's okay to just be with your emotions.
Yes, it really is.
So how has life changed day to day in the house now? Carl isn't there anymore to help take out the trash, did he?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's just funny. I was just hauling the trash cans in yesterday with a friend of my quote unquote son's girlfriend. She was helping me in. And I was just joking because I said, okay, not to be sexist, but I always thought as the trash cans was the boy job. I was like, and I just earlier I had just said, I am woman, hear me roar, as we were moving furniture. And I was much more productive than my son was. I was like, move this, carry this. I was like, I'm barehanded, that kind of stuff. And yet the trash can is the boy job. And so, but I had practiced because he had been in the hospital so much. So I had to do that. It's funny that you bring that up. One of the big conversations that we share when we talk with the group that I meet with is having to deal with all of this alone. all of this alone.
Yeah.
You will do it, the illnesses of pets alone, the household chores alone, the decisions alone. It's just, and then when you're first, it's grief is exhausting and it really tears at your motivation. It's so hard sometimes. You just, at the beginning, you're like, you really want to get out of bed. You want to hide under the covers. So having to do that. The other part of it, because the joke I've told you before that I hear his voice all the time. Now I'm more open to it sometimes, but he, why are you asking me? You're going to do whatever you want anyway. I have a little headstrong.
I do say that out loud to my husband too.
And so he's like, why are you asking me? You're going to do what you want. But having a sounding board, feeling that I had somebody to sound off my ideas before I made the wrong decision. Right. Right now I'm actually doing some yard work.
Yeah.
And I'm having to go with my gut. I'm having to go with the idea that I'm doing the correct thing, that I'm, and it's not like he had experience with landscapers or that stuff. He had some handiwork. He was a great carpenter.
Yes.
He always wanted to build me everything. There was points where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to buy it because I'll get it tomorrow. I'll have it faster. But not having that to carry that weight with you is so difficult. Yeah. That part is really hard to deal with. And I am fortunate that I am a strong-headed woman and a strong woman. And I feel that I was raised to be resilient and self-reliant.
Yes.
So I was always that person. It was always me. Those are the bones of me. But as I said to you, I have the bones intact, but I got a full reno on the inside. Everything changed. And having to, so being self-reliant, I did most of the stuff. I used to always do the funding. I always paid the bills. Yeah. And then at one point, because of his illness, I had to provide the bills, so I did a lot in there. If the tables would have been turned, I would have been frightfully scared for him of having to deal with what I'm dealing with in the real world.
I could only imagine.
It would have been so hard, so hard for him.
I ask you this question, right? Because the beauty of this job is I get to meet amazing people like you and Carl, and I get to help you guys start and create and find that place that you call home, right? And such a blessing. And then to walk through the journey with you of seeing you from the inside, right? Seeing you from the outside, watching in and going, oh gosh, he's gone. You have that day where you're like, it's our wedding anniversary or it's his birthday and I'm just going to sit in bed and I'm going to cry all day. What do you say to that person, right? 4, 5, 6 years later, 10 years, what are you going to say to Leticia in 10, 15 years? Like, what wisdom can you offer them in this process? Because I know this hasn't gotten easier for you, right? Yeah. I know you adore him and you're like every day, like you guys had this love that was just phenomenal, right? I saw the way he looked at you and he just was like, I'm going to take care of you, baby, forever. And he did just that.
Yeah. So
what do you offer as inspiration or wisdom or reflection for someone else?
Again, you need to sit with all your emotions, sit with the happy emotions, sit with the sad emotions. It's not gotten any easier, but it's a different type of things. In a weird, and again, I embrace tears, but yet our barometer is how little or infrequently you cry or not cry. I literally would put myself to sleep on a daily basis crying.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah,
it's
well, at that time it was fine, but it was really hard. But I took those special occasions. I think every step that I have taken personally has been, if it's hard, it's an opportunity to honor him. So even for my birthday came right after his passing.
Yeah.
And I took it. I always celebrated with him, so I wasn't going to go see a friend. Everyone's like, "Oh, do you want me to take you?" I had a lot of offers. No, I'm spending my birthday with him. Besides that, it was COVID too. That kind of forced the issue. But I recreated all my favorite moments with him.
Yes, I love
And
that.
I have to share this story for those couples that are out there, husbands or wives, that can think ahead with a trusted individual. On that first birthday, I had people run me, buy me my apple fritter that he would go out at 5 a.m. to bring to me, bring me to Starbucks. They had a delivery of lunch. And at one point, so he died in April and my birthday's in June. I hear a knock at the door. I see a van and I see flowers. And, you're used to getting flowers after somebody passes. And I thought this was a little late, but okay, And I looked down and I was practical at the end. I'm like, flowers are going to die. You don't have to buy flowers. But he did to do that. I opened the door and there's like a dozen roses at the door. Jokingly, I said, "Oh, honey, did you send me flowers?"
Yeah.
And I opened the card and it said, "Happy birthday. I love you big time," which was his phrase, Carl. Hello. Birthday flowers from beyond. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And I was like, I couldn't figure it out. And somebody said, "Well, could he have arranged this?" And I'm like, I'm the practical one. I'm the one. And I wouldn't have had the thought to do this ahead of time, with a florist. What in the world? Anyhow, with somebody that he trusted very much, he arranged it. He said to that person, "If something should ever happen to me, I want flowers for her, either her birthday or her anniversary, whichever comes first." This person decided to do both. It was beautiful. But yeah, so I spent my birthday with him. On his birthday, I did it doing his stuff to this day. So I just went out for my birthday. I wore the t-shirt that he bought me, that he made for me, that says 29 again. And as long as it exists, I am 29 again, if anybody asks. We had that happened into this tradition. We would go to movies, and the last birthday we had together, because it started with Iron Man. I'm a big Marvel person, if I think I've mentioned. So it was Iron Man, and we kept watching Marvel movies during this thing. And the last birthday we had together was the Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
The end of a saga.
Yeah.
Was the last time together. Oh. So it was like beautiful. So, last year I had it was I think Guardians, whatever. I had to see a Marvel movie. This year there wasn't. A couple of years I've done different things, but I go to the movies like we used to. For his birthday, I go to movies that he would like, that he would have picked. Yes. This year it's going to be Despicable Me 4. Anyhow, but I do things rather than just, I will cry. Yes. I will have my moments. That first birthday, I was busy texting, thanking people, and I was too busy to be emotional until those flowers came, and then I lost it. Of
course.
And but so I sit with the feelings, and then I move and I laugh, and I just embrace all the emotions. But again, for me, it's just about honoring him. It's about keeping him just alive in my heart. And he did that gesture, to show that, unknowing love. And, I recommend that, just, it's beautiful. Keep him alive. Just keep him alive in your heart. Keep him alive in your home. And eventually it won't be as physical. Right. You know what I mean? Like I might move that cap thing, in there, because I sometimes when I change things, I would think I would have done it with him here.
Yes.
So, I can do it with him because he's still here. His spirit is still here. So yeah, that's how, the anniversary I told you, for our 25th anniversary, I'd been saving up to go somewhere special. He never got to be a part of it. I used some of those funds to do his memorial luncheon, and I was able to provide over 100 100 people attended that over, like, I think between the burial, because it was Tuesday first services, and his funeral mass, probably over 150 people attended. He was that loved. He was so beloved by so many people. And then I did a photo shoot commemorating our 25th anniversary, because we would have done a picture together.
Yes.
And I didn't have him, but I had our wedding photo.
Yeah.
And that was all I had in mind. And as I showed you before, we did it with different pictures in the house with my wedding dress.
Yes.
And so I spent it with him. I spend it with him.
Yeah.
On those birthdays. On those anniversaries, special occasions.
I love that, because I think the reality is, right, as we close up the conversation here, and we think about everyone that might be walking this journey right now, right? As we started, life is messy. You never know when life is going to go one direction or another, right? You don't anticipate it. And then for you guys to experience it during COVID, there's so much more to that story, right?
Oh, yes.
Your time separated, your time not able to be with him. I mean, there's so many families out there that struggled with that as well during that time, and the delay in the funeral I know, because we shared and you shared with me, and I only get little snippets of it when I have the opportunity to check in with you, and you're like, Lori, right? And we share our moments together. I'm so grateful for those. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I wanted you to be an inspiration to the others. You don't have to sell your house. Why should you buy a house? Because it offers rent control. It offers you an opportunity to create a space that's in your space. It offers you a safe haven.
It does.
Right?
Absolutely.
Where you still have him. And even if you decided at some point that it is time to make a move, or you are going to relocate or whatever, your opportunity now, it's been your place for healing and love. And I mean, I know you talk about the shed all the time that you guys had to deal with, right?
And I'm hopefully this summer I'm going to have it taken care of.
I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. And I am grateful for the relationship. I'm grateful to have been part of the journey. Thank you for allowing me to continue to be part of the journey. And most importantly, thank you for sharing your heart with our podcast listeners, because grief is different for everyone.
Yes.
And I've talked to so many people within that element. And when I had my first real loss in my family, which is my father-in-law, when I had that, I just wanted to be the support piece to all the different family members that I knew it was hard for. And I was like, how do I do this? And are they doing it right or healthy?
Yeah.
There's no right or healthy way, right?
No, there is no
It's
right
just
or wrong
your
way. Yeah. It's life. I mean, life in itself. Life is, I mean, I look at like therapy. What's the biggest challenge? Before, during, after marriage, everything, it's finding a balance. Finding a balance is just a struggle in everyday life, and having this, and it is hard from an outside point of view. And, even seeking help is hard, knowing what you want. One of the big things is, how can I help you? That was just too vague. Like, here's the easy part for you. I mean, as a friend, a phone call, a text, is wonderful. But, if you have a skill, I know how Lori can help me. Yes. I know what Lori, because you have a skill set, and that skill set I know is specific. So I can ask for you for specific help in there, like if you cook, offer, cooking. If you want to wash a car, wash a car. But having, being on the outside, it's really hard to know how to navigate it. And I think you're right. There is no real right or wrong way. Right. You're learning along the process. And I'm grateful to you that I've had that opportunity. I mean, I just tell that you are a person of a big heart. It just continues to show as your professional life grows. You have your own amazing inspiration within yourself, and stuff. And I mean, from the get-go, you can I promised you could, like, for you had $1 for every time I told her, this lady is a savvy businesswoman. Well, she is a savvy businesswoman, because it was people are like, oh, people are just doing it for the business. And I go, well, that's what's clever about her, is that she was sincere, but then there was always that little element, I still have that knife set.
I love you. I love you.
I saw that knife set that you gave me, and I just laughed because your name's on there, and I will never forget you. And so anyway, but I'm very grateful to you as well. And to have this opportunity, short of winning the Nobel Peace Prize, there is nothing that would justify his being gone, especially not the person that he was. He was just, you would talk about a good guy. Yeah. But if I have to be in this, what sometimes can be a nightmare, if I could honor him and have some kind of good come out of this by being supportive or being an inspiration, or having somebody resonate in this, then that's a blessing.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because I know so many right now in the real estate market that are dealing with just this trauma, right? Because this is really a trauma to lose your whatever it is, your spouse, your partner, your child, whatever loss is, right? We have a lot of loss in real estate right now. And that was why this was important to me. So thank you for sharing your journey. It hasn't ended. There's so much more you're still going to do and accomplish. And what I love is that you're allowing Carl to still be part of it.
Absolutely.
That is beautiful.
He watches over me. So I do think he has his hockey numbers are my little, his way of showing, some people have butterflies or ladybugs or whatever. He has his numbers. And I say good morning to him every time a number shows up on the road in my GPS. And
I love it.
I was a little frazzled leaving the house. I wanted to give myself a bigger cushion.
Yeah.
And I look up and there's 60 minutes in an hour. So there's 1 out of 60 chance that number will show up. Mm-hmm. And this year it's 2024. I'm calling it the year of my goose. His nickname was Goose. Good. And 24 was when it was his last hockey number for the team that he played with. So it's 2 numbers now, but the primary one that showed up, I look up at my GPS and there it is.
I love that.
I said, thank you. So he is watching over me and he is a continued part of it.
Loving you big time. That's what he's doing. Even from up there.
Yeah, from up there.
Thank you. Thank you, Leticia.
Thank you, Lori. I really appreciate this time together. And I do hope this story helps.
It will. Oh, I know it will.